Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. I feel like I do this one a lot. On Android, Spotify, the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. On Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Also, check out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server, 10 different channels, plus our stage shows. This is where you want to be, the place for the most heat, conversation, information, consternation. It's all there. It's Off the Floor. Link right there in the description. You can bypass the Apple upcharge. Also, check out Prize Picks. Use the code 5FIVE. Put down your $5. Get $50 to play right away. Prize Picks is legal in the state of Florida. And yes, if you're an MLB fan, you can play that. Soccer, it's there all summer because we know the NBA season is ending. But also NFL in the fall. Use the code 5FIVE. Put down your $5. Get $50 to play right away. And now, today's episode.
Mercy, luxurious, Heat Nation, yeah, Mercy and Lago, down to Biscayne, yeah, 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs, where here's the thing, you can check the score, hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frauds, down to Biscayne. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports. I got Alex Toledo. You can follow him at Tropical Blanket. I've got Eternal Bast. You can follow him at Eternal Bast. We are in the Kevin Durant aftermath. Did an episode already with Greg Sylvander a couple hours after the trade went down. KD is a Houston Rocket, one of the teams that he was interested in going to. One of the teams we talked about, there's a lot of talk about maybe he was going to end up a Spur or a Timberwolf or a member of the Miami Heat. That's not happening, and it's never going to happen. Let's just put it. I'm never doing a Can They Get Kevin Durant podcast again. I don't care if he's 46 years old at the minimum. Not doing it. I'll do DeMar DeRozan podcasts till the end of time, or Dame Lillard, before I'm going to do another KD one. I've done too many KD podcasts. But we're going to try to deep dive a little bit more here than Greg and I had an opportunity to on the first episode. And we're going to talk direction, because that's really what this is. Like, we're saying, okay, where are the Heat going now? They're in the mix for all these players. Sometimes they're put in the mix when they're really not. And sometimes they are in the mix, like they were this time. Nobody's denying that they had interest in Kevin Durant at all, okay? They didn't deny it. Pat Riley's answer to my question about managing an aging star, it was clear who he was talking about. They were in the mix for Durant, but only up until a point. And we did episodes about value and how can you still make value trades in the NBA? Clearly, the Heat think you can. You can. That there's a certain point that you don't want to go past, okay? And in this particular case, we're still trying to get the details because we did these episodes back to back. So you may hear it a little bit later. We might have more information on it before this episode even comes out. But we're not exactly sure what it is that the Heat offered at the end. But we do know, according to Shams' report on ESPN, that there were parts that the Heat did not want to include, either separately or together. But the parts were, and again, we don't know if it was all of it or part of it, Jaquez, Jovic, the number 20 overall pick, number 10 they got from Houston, number 20 overall pick, which is Golden State's, and then future draft capital, right? Those were the core things that were discussed. Where was not even part of that discussion at the end, according to what Shams was reporting. And I guess where this leads us, and this is why we're having both of you guys on, because we should have more perspectives than just mine, is where are the Heat going here? Because it seems to me that there's 3 tracks, but it's kind of like, for anybody who saw the first Karate Kid, it's like, to left, okay, to right, okay, to middle, squish like grape. And it just feels like we've had some off seasons of being squished like grapes, okay? Are you all in? Are you on a now timeline, okay, trying to compete, and that means you give up your young pieces for stars, okay? And that's what you do, okay? Whatever it is that you have to do to get those guys, you get them. Then there's a second part of this where no, but we're going to take a step back. We like some of our young pieces, but we're going to develop them. But that means fully developing them, finding roles for them, not playing vets ahead of them, not playing Terry Rozier for 40 minutes ahead of younger players. Okay, it means like leaning into your young players, finding the right role for Niko Jovic, etc. Okay, seeing what you can still get from Jaquez if he's still on your roster, making sure Kel'el Ware is maximized. If that's what you're doing, playing Pelle Larsson ahead of some guy that you signed for the minimum. That's what that means. And then the third part of it is, or are you just in full on, we're rebuilding this thing tank mode. Let's trade Tyler before he gets an extension. Let's pivot and just like, let's wait it out 3 years or whatever it is to try to get back in line with some of these other teams. And so I'll ask you this. I'll start with you, Alex. Like, what do you want them to do?
Oh boy. Now oh man, that's a really tough question, Ethan. I feel like you set me up over here, but honestly, this is why it's so tough. You know, you mentioned them being in the middle. The reason why it's so tough is there is no easy answer, right? And I think it kind of sums up the issues that they've been in. I mean, that they've had for the past couple of years here, especially now that they're out of the Jimmy window, right? Where there's no clear direction as far as, is this team trying to go back to winning? Is this team, going to try to take a gap year? I feel like we all know that they're not going to blow things up. Like, I think 99% of Heat fans would be shocked if, Tyler and Bam are moved, like an extreme situation like that, right? I don't think anybody is expecting that. But as far as the other directions, right, if whichever one you go in, they're not exactly like in a great place to do either. And that is why it's so tough. It's like, if you're going to try to, give more minutes and build around the young players and try to build quote unquote organically, what is the end game there? You're just going to continue to add like middling draft picks, and I guess keep the slate open for the next star that becomes available. That sounds like kind of the way that the Heat would go, right? But then the other way, it's like there is no all-in move to make. So isn't it just the same? So if they're not going to blow it up, are we essentially just going back and forth between whether or not they're going to trade their ancillary pieces? Because that's essentially the difference, right? Because it seems like the lines have been blurred between all in and transition here. Because they just tried to get us, like this older star who would advance your short-term contention window, but didn't go all in for him, right? And now, like, if they're going to have this quote-unquote gap year, they're not really going to go all in on that unless they, move their ancillary pieces, which is not something that they've really ever done, right, to try to get draft capital in return. So how different are these paths?
I guess that's the question. I mean, we talk about KD when we got out of, and just to be clear on this, because Eternal, I know you mentioned Riley's presser a few times. And I remember when Brady and Alex and I got out of Riley's presser, and then Greg said the similar thing. It was basically a 2-track plan that we took out of that. It was, okay, they're going to go after KD in some form or fashion. And if they don't get KD, they're going to take a step back and try to get under the repeater tax. Like, that's how we framed it at that point. Well, now they went after KD in some form or fashion. They didn't get him. And now is it just about getting under the repeater tax? But then what does that mean for 2025, 26? So, Eternal, your thoughts on what direction they should go?
Well, I would say first and foremost, just to kind of put things in proper context. If you're listening to this episode, more than likely you're listening to this episode after you've heard the reaction from Ethan and Greg, and after you have seen the news of KD being traded to the Rockets. It came down to the Heat and the Rockets in between the two finalists to get KD's services. Now, from what we saw from Barry, which came from Shams as well, is that the Rockets, the Suns were asking for Nico, Jaime, Haywood Highsmith, the 20th pick, and more than likely future picks is what we're hearing. Not confirmed.
Well, but we don't know, but that's what I'm saying. I don't know as we speak, and we might by the time this podcast posts. I don't know that it was end. That's the thing. The way that Shams wrote it, it could have been parts of. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that, and that's I made that clear on the podcast with Greg. I don't know that they asked for all of that. They might
Mhm.
have, because they did at the deadline, by the way.
Right.
Okay.
That what kind of
Right.
makes sense to you, based on like what they ended up taking, what they ended up accepting.
It does. Well, let me ask you this, Eternal, before I'll get back to the original question. Do you think that Phoenix got a good deal from Houston? Do you like the deal they got from Houston?
I will say this. I feel like they got a lot, but they also got fleeced. Because they did not.
I agree with you.
They didn't get their picks back. You got the 10th pick in a really, really great draft, but you didn't get your picks back. So
well, that was their pick originally, the 10th.
That was, but they didn't get all of them, though.
They didn't get all of them.
No, I get that.
Then they also had to take Jaylen Green's contract. Do we think we say Jaylen Green's contract is a positive asset, a neutral asset, or a negative asset?
I would say neutral.
Yeah, I think neutral. It really just depends on how you feel about him.
Yeah. He's 23. And
weird fit.
Yeah, it's just he just doesn't fit in Phoenix, right? Which is the same problem you had with Bradley Beal, but
and now Beal's still on the roster, though.
Right.
That's the thing. So now you've like compounded it. Like, what do we hear about this? Right? We heard they want to get a center.
Mm-hmm. They didn't get one.
Center. They got two guards.
But they got the 10th pick, which they
could take a center. Okay. Okay.
So
fair. Or they could flip one of the guards for Claxton, perhaps, if that's what they want to do.
Right. So they have two options there. They do have flexibility there. You asked me if it was a good deal for Phoenix. They have the ability to address their center spot, right? Or so where they are at the 10th spot, they can either stay there, depending on how the drafts fall, or they can try to trade up, right? Mm-hmm. By using Jaylen Green in the 10th pick and maybe, something.
Yeah, if they want to draft Maluach from Duke, they might have to move up. I don't know if he's in
Yeah, I don't think he is either, because you have Philly that could possibly take him at 3 if they stay there. But just answering your question, I think Miami was willing to trade for KD, and I know people are not going to like to hear it, but I think they were willing to trade for KD up to a certain point, right? And I think all within reasonable, which is what people like. The whole reason we're doing this podcast is like I sent to you. People have been complaining for years that Miami wouldn't do business a certain way, that they didn't manage their assets well, and all of this. And we know coming into this that Miami had a very, very limited asset pool, right? By way of just young talent that they have on the roster on rookie contracts, by way of just picks and everything like that. Right. So if Miami sends all that out, then we're going to have the same conversation again. Should things play out for Miami like it did for Milwaukee, where they have Dame and Dame is hurt and you're at risk of Giannis leaving because you're nowhere near closer to winning the championship and you're stuck with a massive contract and an old player. Right. So it's different ways that things can play out, but there's also a different way you look at it. And I think Miami was just like, well, this isn't worth the cost, right? And they stayed the course of keeping their players. This doesn't mean that, we are so bought into Nico, we are so bought into Jaime, we are so bought into like whatever, so ever. It's just that reached a price point that we weren't really willing to pay because don't forget that part, because of what we're already dealing with. And I think Miami has realized where they are, which applaud to them. And I think they're trying to just, at best, operate from there. Now, if you would have asked me what direction I think they should take, we go back to the Pat Riley presser, where he mentioned change. He recognized the team needed to change, right? Like, he said a lot of things, and I know we got into that. You guys got into that as far as like he was saying a lot of things that kind of contradicted each other, but he did talk about change, and he talked about kind of switching some things up. And I think Miami can do a retool. I mentioned earlier in our Discord, make sure you check it out. The Wade prime years, right? Mm-hmm. Right after the championship, after they got swept in 2007, after Wade got hurt and they decided to forego that 07-08 season, and they got the top 2 pick. Mm-hmm. Those next 2 seasons, they just retooled. Now you could have a conversation that they could have retooled better, right, to maximize Wade and in a playoff run. But they retooled, and then they set themselves up for the summer of 2010. Now, it's a different CBA. Free agents ain't making it to the market like that. You have to adapt and prepare it other ways, like Alex was saying, right? So it may not just be, oh, let's retool and get a bunch of picks like OKC or like these other teams. Just let's make the best of what we have. Let's not spend all of our assets. If something comes up that makes sense, we can retool in a way of like if we send Tyler out for a Desmond Bain type package or something to the equivalent of that, or you move Andrew Wiggins or somebody else that could possibly get you some picks or whatever, right? Like, or you move them for players that are on lesser contracts, but give you something of equal production or maybe even more, you know? So it's like they can retool in a way where it may not put you closer to championship contention, but it gives your team dynamic a different look.
Okay. And I want to handle some of this on the other side of that because I understand what you're saying. And I just wonder, are Heat fans going to be patient enough to wait out a process? Because there were criticisms, like you talk about Wade in 2008, 2009, 2009, 2010. There were criticisms at the time that they wasted his two best seasons. Now, it doesn't feel wasted when you win 2 championships and make 4 finals, right? And the sacrifices that he made. But he was at the top of the game in those 2 years, and his second best player was who? Mario
Chalmers? Was it UD? I think it changed on the night.
Quentin Richardson on a 1-year deal. Mike, I know who Alex is going to say. Anyway, on the other side,
but to be fair, but to be fair, before we go to break, is that the team itself and the coach is much better than then, right?
Yes.
Like for everything within contextual, like for context, Bam had a bad season to start. Spo had a rough season, right? We're not expecting them to have similar, seasons next year, especially without the distraction of Jimmy Butler, right? And everything that came with that. And you have Khalil, you do have Nico, you do have Jaime, however long you have them, you're going to get some type of production out of them, whether that's the leap that you want or whatever, you're going to get something out of them, which
But you're also coming off a 37-win season that ended with 52 points of losses in the last 2 games. I think we've got to put that into context. I don't know that this team is any better than the team that Dwayne carried because it doesn't have a Dwayne. So that's kind of where we're at, and I get it. I guess my overall thing, and I'll go back to Alex on this after the break. My overall thing is I understand a lot of their reasoning for not doing certain things over the past few years. I do. Okay. And I know fans get upset at me for that, but I do understand it. I understand that there's circumstances involved, but I also still don't feel like a direction has been chosen. And that's my frustration. I don't know what it is they're trying to be now, except a team that doesn't tank. They don't want to be a team that tanks. That we know. They don't want to be a second apron team. That we know. That one I understand. Okay. Check that off the list. I'm okay with that one. But like beyond that, like I don't know what it is they're trying to be, because if what you're trying to be is building a team around Bam and Tyler on maximum contracts, you're not getting anywhere. You're just not getting anywhere. Like that's and that's where this is trending at the moment. So it's not again that I'm gonna throw the kitchen sink at them. Oh, they didn't get KD and all this. And again, I need to find out exactly what it was the last offers were. But I come out of it saying, okay, and then what? We're pulling back. We're looking at 2026. 2026 class still is going to have some good players in it. But Alex, you tipped this off when we did this episode months ago that it wasn't going to have everybody we thought it was going to have, and it's not. So then what? Then what? And are your rookies and your young players, are they going to be put in a position to keep? They're going to have valleys, but are they going to be able to come out of them and get better, or are we going to be seeing Jaquez playing overseas in 2 years? That's kind of and Jovic is a player who they didn't fulfill his potential. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. All right. Where I'm at with sending money is using Cash App. Use Cash App. Our whole group at 5 on the Floor uses Cash App. There's no salary cap on Cash App, although perhaps there should be. You should always have a budget. Cash App, use the code on the floor, our exclusive referral code in our profile. Send $5 or in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days. You get $10 dropped right into your account. Cash App is the safest way to send money. It's also the easiest, fast, safe, and honestly way more personalized than the other apps out there. They look out for you. If something seems sketchy, they see you might be sending money to a potential scammer. They'll warn you, make you think twice before you hit send. You can even spice up your payments with custom text, stamps, and backgrounds. For whatever insane reason you don't already have Cash App, just download it for your phone's app store, sign up, enter our code on the floor in your profile. It's on the floor. Send $5 to a friend. You get $10 just for getting started. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. All right. So, Alex, and I feel like some of this we've talked in circles through various podcasts. We've been doing this for a very long period of time. Where do you think this goes? This offseason?
I think kind of like what I was saying before, the lines have been so blurred between these quote unquote directions because one of them feels so like out of the park, like I mentioned with the blow it up angle where they trade Tyler and Bam, which I don't expect. So again, once you're not doing that, I feel like going back to what we were talking about here with the cap space and all that and keeping the books open, and what Eternal mentioned earlier as far as the new NBA being more about, you know, the stars getting moved in trades as opposed to free agency. The Heat adjusting their strategy is now just what I think is going to happen is Tyler and Bam is going to be the core of the team until further notice. They're going to keep their cap space, not to use it necessarily in free agency to go after guys, but to keep their books open for, you know, whoever becomes available in trade. I think that's what they're doing. I think they're going to keep just, you know, building around Tyler, Bam, see what happens with the young guys, kind of remain, you know, quote unquote competitive until the next guy becomes available. That's as much as I can get out of this, right? It's clear that they valued like the flexibility of 2026 and all that stuff. So now what are you going to do with it? Who's going to become available? And that's why I've been skeptical this whole time. It's not only because of free agency, which I'm already skeptical of. Like, I understand that you can use cap space in different ways to absorb guys via trades. You can get assets, right? If you want to, you know, talk about going in different directions. If you go the other direction, which, by the way, I didn't say, I would like for them to sell, right? I would like for them to sell specifically like guys who can help win now teams. I'm not even talking about like the Tyler Bam situation there, but like Wiggins, Highsmith, right? Just guys like that who a team might give you something for, even if it's not going to change, you know, your franchise in a major way. I think they need to get some stuff back because this team is not ready to compete now. And so guys who are, you know, ready to help win now teams, the Heat frankly just don't need them. For as much as they want to talk about winning and every year is about winning the championship and that's what they're about, we all know it. Like they're not going to be anywhere near that next season. So I think it would be nice if they could kind of do something that they haven't done forever, right? And like, let's say you could move Wiggins for a pick or Highsmith for a pick. You know what I mean? Like do stuff like that because apparently like they're about their young guys now. They're about their young guys. They didn't think they were ready to win to the point where they can just go all in for a guy like Durant because that's what a team that feels they're ready to win does. And I get it. Like I wouldn't have if the final like counter offer from the Suns was 2 future first, the 20th pick in this draft, Jovic, Jaquez, and the necessary salary. Like it's a lot. It's a hefty price to pay for a 37-year-old. I get why they didn't do that. But now, since we've gotten, you know, to the other side of this, what do you do now? Especially when you're in a weird situation with the tax as it is. I just think it makes so much sense. Like, what would you rather do is not bring back Davon, who's like this young guy, this guy who stands for everything you're about, who fits what they do on the court and is also young, is that second draft type of player, like somebody who everybody loved. Would you rather just not bring him back, or would you rather potentially, you know, maybe you move some of these guys who are just not serving the larger purpose for you at the moment? And so I think none of this is very exciting either way, but it's kind of, it goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning. They're not exactly set to pick one direction either way. You know, like there's no easy answer here. You know what I mean? It's like I think they have to pick a direction and then kind of start from scratch. You know what I mean? Like they're firmly in the middle.
Right.
So
well, that's the thing, but that's literally the absolute worst place that you want to be in. It's the place that they never wanted to be. They never wanted to be, and it's the place that Chicago and Atlanta have been, among other teams. All right, so Eternal, to that end, let's get more specific here. Well, okay, Davion Mitchell's contract is up. I mean, he's a restricted free agent. He's a player that the Heat like, the fans really like, fits the culture, all that kind of stuff. But Are you winning with him right now? What do you do? He gets offered $13-14 million a year. You sign or pass?
Oh yeah, absolutely sign him. I think we've talked about this before, and every time you've asked me this, I say yes, you sign him, just for whatever reason. Like we talked, even the pod that you and I and Brian did. He fits whatever you're trying to do, whether it was trading for KD or trading for another star or whoever. He fits that as someone who can be a championship-like piece off your bench, right? Now, I don't think he can be your starting guard. Maybe whatever he does over the summer proves me wrong, but I don't think he can be your starting guard, but I definitely think he can be a crucial piece off the bench. And I think whether if you're drafting a young guard, he's a great, placeholder for that young guard, to learn from and everything like that, also to push him. Or if you just sign him, he's probably going to play to the level of his contract or beyond it. And then you use him like Alex was saying, like he becomes a win now piece for another team. You can trade that. So there's benefits to re-signing him more than it is just letting him go, right?
Okay. So let me follow because I want to move through these quickly. So with Jovic, I know how you feel about Jovic.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give him an extension now, right? If you're keeping him out of trades, right, you're giving him an extension, correct? You're finding a role for him.
Well, I think it just makes sense for you to sign him now to have him on something manageable anyway, whether he outplays
over the second apron.
Well, I would just imagine if they're going to make. I mean, per Barry, they're trying to make moves anyway. That's what Barry just tweeted.
So there may be other moves that allow for this. Basically, is what we're getting at. Yeah. So I know you're going to say yes on this. Okay, so let me ask you this question. Barry threw out the possibility of trading the number 20 overall pick if they don't love somebody, and trading it for future draft capital because you're already close to the roster max at this point anyway. Before you've traded anybody, if you're going to bring back Burks, you got Keshad Johnson under a contract. So then essentially you just you kick it down the road, but you keep an asset for later. It also gets your picks in order where you can trade more of them. The right star comes along, which is really the reason to do it. So I ask you that: Are you because Eternal again? You speak with the fans all the time. We all do, okay? But you're sitting there on the Discord. If they get to 20 on Wednesday, and there's a player that we know that Heat fans like, let's say Ben Seraph is there. Okay, who's a player that we've talked about, like a guard,
point guard as well.
Who has some creativity to his game, might be able to juice the offense. And Seraph, the Heat fans are waiting for Seraph's name to come up, and it's the draft rights to Ben Seraph have been traded to blank for a 2028 first round pick.
I should do that ahead of time so we don't have to deal with that
be at the draft party. By the way, go to the draft party on Wednesday. We're going to be there. No, I'm sorry. Adele will lose his mind. Will lose his mind if they do that. But he'll start scouting 2028 guys. But I'm just saying, these are, and I think this is the point that you're getting at, Eternal. And I want to let you guys close on this, and then we got more episodes to do. Okay, but this is the point. The things that Heat fans, this is what you kind of brought to the table today with what Eric Wiedeke, who's part of our network, and he's on our Discord, put out there. The things that Heat fans want them to do to have the assets necessary to get the star in the future are painful in the short term. They're not fun. And majority of Heat fans don't want to go through that, at least the ones we communicate with, the rabid minority, right? Okay, and we appreciate all of you, the ones listening to every podcast, or at least half of them. But it's hard. This is not fun. Trading current first round picks for future first round picks. You want to get the toy now. You don't want to wait for the toy on layaway, right?
You might have to trade away the toys you currently have in order to do that, or else
correct. Especially with those damn tariffs, right? Right, exactly, right. I mean, it's no, you can't have the PS6 when it comes out, but we're gonna get you a PS9. It's gonna be even better. This is kind of where we're at, right? This is hard. Are you willing to go through the hard work? I'll ask both of you because we want to hear the podcast. Eternal first, and then Alex finish on Discord with the fans. If they trade the 20th pick on Wednesday, because it makes some sense to do so. It does, okay, but fans aren't going to like it.
I think if you ask me in my heart of hearts, and I'm gonna pull a you because you did this, I think, to Adele on a previous pod. You didn't answer this question.
No,
so
Brady does this to me all the time. He flips the question on me. I know Brady's about to do it too. He's like, "Let me ask you," and I'm like, "No, that's not what we're here for. Go on." I'm sorry.
But I'm gonna answer your question. I think because they have to. I think Miami makes some moves before the draft that sets them up to be able to draft somebody of want and need. But I also, before I kick it to Alex, I also think, and I've been saying this consistently for a few pods and in our Discord, I think that Miami, especially off of this move with KD, that they didn't put everything on they're aware of where they are. And I think Miami trades up in the draft. If there is a player on their board that they really like, I know they've never done it. Hear me and hear me well. I know they've never done it, right? But I said the same thing last year. I said they know that they need a big, and they're going to draft a big. They drafted one. They know they need.
What are they trading to move up, though?
I would think the 20th pick will probably be involved, and maybe you can get away with an Andrew Wiggins and a Highsmith to get you up maybe 5 more spots, right? I guess it really just depends on if a guy falls out of.
Do you think it's possible, because I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt in all cases here, do you think it's possible that they know they can move up for a player in the draft, or they feel they can move up for a player in the draft, so when they're talking to the Suns, they're like, we don't really want to give you everything.
Well, because we need –
Well, we need – right. So we'll go get our own
to trade an asset to get their pick back? Oh, God.
Well, their pick is Cooper Flag. No, I don't want to say that because we've already debunked that. I don't want to throw that out. I don't want to know. We debunked that. They would have had to win a coin flip. They never would have.
But that's great journalism there. That's great journalism from Ethan there, because that is a great point.
I don't do that anymore. Yeah,
that's a great point. If the Heat feel like, hey, especially with the job Adam Simon and his team have been doing, if they feel like, hey, there's a guy that could possibly fall, we're probably going to need a little something to get up 5-6 more spots, right? Not into the, you know,
because I and this is all due respect to Haywood, who I admire as a player and as a person, and has a very good pizza over at Mr. 01. Not as good as Caleb Martin's pizza, but a very good pizza. I've sampled them both. I cannot imagine he was the deal breaker here. I'm having a hard time.
Haywood had his moment this season of being good, and then Haywood had his moments where
like Haywood a lot, and I love his story, but he's also in the last year of his contract, and you know, I'm having a hard time thinking that was the deal breaker here.
I mean, come on. Like, we don't have to do this. We don't have to keep dancing around it. Like, it's just obvious. They asked for, like, the Suns basically, like, guys, we don't even have to wait for Ethan, is all due respect, because the reporting, the source, all that is extremely valuable. You carry the network with that stuff. So I'm not downplaying that. But just using, like, you know, deduction skills, like, it's just obvious. Like, they accepted Jaylen Green, they accepted Dylan Brooks, they accepted the number 10 pick and 5 second-round picks. How do you beat that? You beat that by, like, okay, well, if you're not going to give us Ware, give us every single other young guy.
Everything else.
Give us all the future picks that you have. Like, it is. Like, you really think that they didn't trade for KD because they didn't want to include Haywood and Hawkins? Like, come on.
Man.
I'm just hoping
we'll get mad about it, though. We'll rile everybody up about it, though.
Maybe I got Ernie the man in my head, because he keeps saying he knows. Turtle knows. He knows exactly who it is. He's still involved in Heat business, even though he's with Jimmy at Golden State. But he absolutely 100% knows what it is that the Heat would offer, and we would be stunned by it. I mean, I don't know. Was it Keyshawn? I mean, I don't know. Okay, I'm not really sure. By the way, I think Keyshawn Johnson's going to be a good player for them. But I can't imagine. I'm looking at the pieces. If it was just Jovic, Jaquez, the 20th pick, I'm assuming Duncan's contract and Wiggins are in there too, right? So, like, if it's that, I still wanted to be covering KD. I have very selfish interests in this stuff. I don't want to watch an offense that crawls to 101 points again next year.
Ethan, you keep talking about the fans and what they can handle.
No, it's me.
It sounds like you.
It's all me. It's all me. I acknowledge it. It's all me. All right, Alex, thanks for joining. Eternal, thanks for joining. We appreciate you guys. Check out the Discord, Off the Floor Prize Picks, and I'm gonna get a nap. By the way, if you ever go to a Panthers parade, first thing, don't drive, don't Uber, just walk. Okay, just walk. That's all I'm saying. But there'll be another one next year, so we'll be there for that.
Yeah, hopefully there's not a big trade announced that devastates Heat fans in the middle of it.
No, there always is. Literally, I can't go anywhere without something happening. I can't. Didn't I say before I left? I put on our Discord. I'm going to the Panthers parade. KD will be traded in the next 2 hours. Like, I don't need sources for that. I just need my bad luck. What's that?
Are you going to the draft party? So that means a trade is going to happen while you're at the draft party.
But at least I'll have my laptop. I won't be out in 93-degree heat. Okay, my daughter overheating and people spilling beer on each other and no way to get off Fort Lauderdale Beach. Okay, I won't be there.
We will be there.
They're going to make a trade during the draft while Ethan is there, and he's going to be at the concession stand.
Oh, yeah. No, so okay, let me just paint a picture for you here and we'll close it. Ethan standing in an unquestionably long line for Papa John's for some reason.
No, I don't need Papa John's. I don't need Papa John's. You know that. No, that's where I draw the line on heat spots.
Some like random bowl.
He's sick for 3 weeks.
He's like waiting in line for, and then while he's waiting in line for this bowl with ingredients, the trade of DeMar DeRozan to the Heat is announced, along with a 2027 pick for Wiggins and the number 20 pick.
It's actually a plausible trade.
It really is, though, because of what you guys were talking
about.
No,
I'm not doing this. That's another podcast. Cut it off. Nice to see you guys. Use the code on the floor at the Cash App and Prize Picks. Use the code 5. That's our next pod, Alex. Nice. Have a good one. I'm hitting end.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. After all, someone needs to listen to my dad.